Hello, hello, hello. So I am Andra Annette, and
Yeah,
this is Lorilet
but
Monegro,
it's
and we
that
are Soul
here.
Stove. So tonight, I want to talk a little bit about the AI madness that's going on out there. So we're always talking about being authentic and things like that, and we want to ask the audience how all this stuff that's coming out makes you feel because I'm a YouTube partner, so I'm always putting things out on YouTube, and people that are teaching AI are encouraging people to go to people's shows that are doing really well, copy their description and things like that, and then put it into like ChatGPT and stuff, and come up with their own show based on the same thing because this is doing well. And I think that's kind of crazy, right? So I was showing Lorilet the yesterday that I did Brave Bunny and the Friendly Fox. It's a book that I wrote, published, and and I do a lot of songs that I publish, and they are all copyrighted, but that doesn't stop people from going out and making it into something else. So somebody made my little Brave Bunny into hoodwink and on on YouTube. Like they had like this thug of a bunny, and then I see all these other things. So some people really work hard on their business to do things that are authentic, and um, people come along and they take that idea and they run with it. Um, so an AI allows these kind of things, but it's, I feel like this. I feel like there's a lot of mini me's, and I don't mean like me personally, but I'm saying that there's a lot of replication and no originality anymore. And we're kind of breaking away from who we are as people because we are all original by nature. We're not here to fit into somebody else's box or be just like anybody else. But if you're doing all of your content, all of your shows, everything in AI, I think I told you, Lori, that I was watching um, somebody else's podcast, and it was a podcast, an AI podcast on how to make an AI podcast. And I was like, holy crap, you don't even have to show up for your show anymore. But so I think it's great that these tools are here to give you back some time in your business, but they're tools. They're not meant to replace everything we do as human beings, like those interactions, that helping, that um, reaching out to other human beings, right? So, Laura, what do you think about this?
I think that the issue with AI is that it it's transforming the way we engage in a way that is very, very different than it was even before when we were just talking about cell phones, right? Because now what happens with artificial intelligence, and now we have artificial intelligence that can be responsive and that can talk back and that can create these podcasts and can create these dynamic interactions because the model has gotten so good at predicting the language structure, right? The way we communicate, that it can pre-fill the same way the brain can pre-fill what should come next, right? And the predictable ability of how we string language and how we create meaning. So there are things about artificial intelligence that could be wonderful to fast track certain aspects. But what's scary about it is the fact that there's so much of sameness that is going to be out there so fast at lightning speed that it's almost like the same, the same, the same, the same, the same, as opposed to originality and finding that uniqueness, that which will make us unique, can be harder. Not a way of necessarily creating an equalizer, but actually creating such a homogeneous aspect to everything. It becomes also something that could could be like a weapon in many ways, um, to the peril of our creativity. Like we are at a point where our creativity could be put at risk. Um, so I have my reservations. I like artificial intelligence, but I have my reservations in terms of what that can do to a human mind that does not elevate its own software, right?
Correct.
So we have a job to do in order to be able to stay on edge.
So I like what you
Yeah.
said about
So
how it,
so AI, being so smart, but we need to somehow, right? If the average IQ is not that of Einstein and AI is already at the 180, right? Einstein level. Yeah, that tells us it has a lot of capacity if we were to measure it as an intelligence quotient. But beyond that, this is why character matters. This is why our stories matter. This is why our identifying lived experience matters. This is why our emotional imprint matters and our ability to make sense and meaning and interpret lived experiences that a robot could never get. And I know that they're probably trying to teach these robots and these artificial intelligence component to have empathetic language. But the problem is the heart, how we feel. Yet there are neuronal connections that are in our brains, right, that respond to stimuli to create a sensation. So if we think about like neural links and how neural links are being created, and these neural links are based on this whole concept of artificial intelligence and mapping and having to use electromagnetic components to innervate our nervous system so we can have a response, right? But that doesn't give us a heart. So there's a lot to think about when we think about what the future could be, the fast pace of AI, how AI is just, my goodness, it's just every second you turn around, it's getting faster, it's getting better, it's getting sophisticated on us. So that can be good if you have the brain and the ability to use it well. Otherwise, it will replace you.
but this is where I'm coming from. That whole sameness, that's not even what worries me, but well, it does, and this is why. Because Chat GPT and these artificial intelligence are scanning the web to get you that information. And a lot of that information on the web is not accurate. It's not 100% accurate. It's just normal people putting out things there. So you have a lot of the sameness popping up, but a lot of the same malinformation, right? So I mean, because I can see people that are using AI, like they put in these brains and these little, like all these little designs when they're doing these posts, right? That come with AI. Some when people are using them and they don't know that that's a clear sign it's ChatGPT or something, to people that know ChatGPT, these people are using it and they're putting out bad information, and there's a lot of people using that's putting out a lot of the bad information or malinformation, right? So if these people are in, say, health, or they're a new nutritionist, or there's someone and they want to have more information to help with the business they're just starting, but they're putting out bad information that goes against their credibility later on. But it's also making the very people they should be trying to help sicker, right? So that's from a health perspective, and what I do, because I've been doing health a long time. I know when information is bad and when it's okay, right? But it's not just that. It's stopping us from that whole thinking process, right? So I'm worried from the perspective, like, just like your muscles, right? We tell you in health all the time, use them or lose them. Well, if you're not using your brain functions and you're not operating at its capacity, right, then will you lose that cognitive ability? That's concerning for me, right? So I think it can very well have that kind of impact on you because you are not using, the speech that you usually use to have conversations with other people. You're not using those socialization skills. So I feel like it's really, even though it's causing advances in things that we can do and the research we can use and stuff like that, books aren't being opened, right? These kind of things are not happening. Things that help you expand your knowledge in other ways. And it's great that we want to learn all these tools, but there are different kinds of knowledge that we should be absorbing and interacting and um, having conversations like that every day, not with just artificial intelligence, right? So I think it's going to impact social skills. I think it's going to impact the way we learn. Um, and not for the better because we're becoming dependent on something else for that knowledge instead of going out and researching it and acquiring that knowledge ourselves, right? Because if you're putting in information all the time, that's different for your business or things like that. So it's meant as a resource, not to replace the human condition. And I feel like people are micromanaging who they are as people, but I feel like we're worried about micromanaging businesses and making sure that everything's running right in the business. But how are we running right if we're taking and giving away our control to artificial intelligence, like our free thinking, our creativity, those social interactions, all those things? How is that affecting us as humans, right? Because it's making us more like a robot than a human being, right? So those are my concerns. I have created my own chat GPTs for because I don't want to be part of that web search. So I feed it the information that I want it to know about me and use it for research and how it can help it. But you do have to check that data. So you don't say, hey, ChatGPT, what year did the man walk on the moon and hope that that's the right answer, right? If you're doing a paper for school, because kids are out there using this too, right? So,
Mhm.
so are they really learning? So, like when you look in the classroom settings, they're not teaching lots of things that they used to teach, right? So they're not teaching scripts anymore, right? They're not teaching kids are not learning to tell time anymore. So they can't look at a clock and see the time because everything's digital. So all the, it's just different. So I think we're stunting our growth in other ways. So children know that AI is out there. So, what incentives do they have to go home and pick up that book and study what they've learned in class when they can go to ChatGPT and ask for that answer for that short story or whatever they're writing, right? Hey, can you help me do this? Or so I think we've come a long way in tools, and I think they are so wonderful that we are making these advancements. Please don't misunderstand what I'm saying, but it's the methods in which we're using them that can be concerning. Because, true story, I wanted to see if I can clone myself because they talk about you creating these avatars, you clone yourself. So you don't have to do your stories anymore. You can clone your things. So I made a clone of myself, and I am no AI specialist, and it only took me a few minutes to do it. So if I can clone myself, so can other people. So what is that doing to our safety, right? Because people can think they're talking to me and actually be talking to a replication of me. So um, there's a big gap in where this is going to be in connecting us as people. And I think that it's not going to cause a greater connection. I think it's going to cause a greater separation. And I think it's not just from others, but from ourselves, right? Because we will be coming, instead of becoming independent business owners, you're not going to be independent. If Facebook goes down and you got a business go on Facebook, guess what? You're shit out of luck. Well, if ChatGPT goes down and you're using ChatGPT to run your whole business, you don't have a business anymore, do you? So you have to start putting in some of the work, not make becoming dependent on something else. So what do you think about that, Laura?
Well, I mean, that's all 100% true. I think that, the point of AI though is because of the benefits that it does have for entrepreneurship. That I see well. I'm more concerned what it does on in terms of the brain itself, in terms of, again, these neuronal connections that I was talking to you about, because of what they do, not only in terms of basically changing us, right? Like changing our thinking process, changing our ability to make those neurons fire, right? And which is how we learn, how create neural pathways for learning, and
Mm-hmm.
how we basically create experiences, memory, how we create knowledge, our brain naturally gets rid of what it doesn't use. So this whole idea of like, hey, we're not necessarily using our brain to create, right? The creation aspect of it, that ultimately leads the brain to say, oh, you don't use that? Great, we don't need it. Because the brain is always going to work for efficiency, right? It's
Right.
there to go into as much as possible automaticity of tasks, because that's how it preserves energy. But also we have on this one aspect, this whole idea of neuroplasticity, which is why I'm even a therapist, right? As a therapist, if there was no hope in doing the therapeutic interventions to ensure that over
Rewire the
time there's
brain.
change, then there would be no sense in engaging in any type of therapeutic endeavor, whether that would be physical, emotional, mental, rewiring of the brain, and rehabilitation aspects of who we are. So there is an ability inherent in us to have this neuroplasticity, and that could very well be highly impacted by what centers are being innervated, right? Or not innervated, right? What's not firing in our brain. For example, I was reading an article about how texting is so different than writing with pencil and paper in terms of what it lights up in our motor strip. And so there's muscle memory and learning that happens when you are actually creating and writing each
Mhm.
letter. It doesn't happen when you're just clicking and tapping.
Correct.
Because what the neuronal uh, point of contact of a tap is not the same neuronal contact and wiring required in terms of a signal for writing, right? And so it's the same thing with all this, with AI. What I'm trying to get at is that for me, the biggest concern is what this is going to do to our cognitive skills over time, what this is going to do to the way we are learning, and also the way we're communicating. As a speech language pathologist, there is this section called social pragmatic skills in terms of language and communication skills and how we use that because we're social beings. Now, robots are not designed to engage the way we do. Yes, they may now have been fed the language models that go, hey, how are you? Hello, let me welcome you, let me all this. But have you ever tried to hug a bunch of steel? See how that feels? It can't possibly feel the warmth that we have when we touch each other, human beings, the breath, the eyes, everything about who we are, the way we're made, the way our skin feels, everything. All of that is nerves. We are a ball of nerves.
Nerves, my neurons.
So
So
there's
yeah.
so many things that are concerning in terms of what that could mean. But again, we would have to study how the brain is reshaped in terms of having functional MRI studies. I think the field of neuroscience is going to explode because of this. And I think that not only that, when you talk about behavioral psychology, if I consider how impact of behavior, right, based on what I know about social pragmatic skills, how behavior is impacted, how our thought is impacted by just specific words that we would use in our language, how our movement is impacted even by the way we're engaging hours and hours seated, or how we're now not doing what we got to do motorically. So many areas could be impacted that I think that this is how the birth of that neural links, keep talking about it because I really foresee how this is going to be a big player as we continue to see probably likely even a reflection of declines in cognition over time.
Yeah, I believe there's going to be a big decline in cognition. I really do, because people are not going to be free thinkers anymore. They are becoming more reliant. I think the way that it's being marketed as well, too. Like when AI came out, it gave us the ability to do massive research and have knowledge at our fingertips in minutes, but it was not meant to take the place of us. So you have a lot of people out there marketing it. And there's so many entrepreneurs online right now that if you don't know this, you're going to get left behind, and creating a fear. So people are, buying all these apps and doing all this stuff, and there's no more originality. And that's concerning. I like that everybody's different. I like that I can look at a post and say, okay, that's so and so. Hey, there's my girlfriend writing this again, because I know her like MO in her posts. I know her mannerisms. I know her heart center, what's coming through, right? So I don't see that really anymore. Like I see people writing like I don't know, just about everything and anything. And, you have, okay, so if we look at how many people in the world actually went to college, yet you have millions and millions of professionals showing up online, but people that never took any real education, right? And now they feel they're at an advantage of people in business and stuff like that, because now they don't need to take those classes or do those things. They could just ask Chat GPT, right? So it's really going to stunt people's growth. People are going to just, they're going to become lazy. They're going to become, because people, the American way is people want instant gratification. They don't want to work harder than they have to, unfortunately, right? Um, so I think that's going to show. I think that's going to have an impact, and I do think that people can use this. We have good people and we have bad people. So people can use this for really, I mean, this could really help science, psychology, all these things we're talking about, like neuroscience, all these things we're talking about. It can really help those fields and help with that research. But then you have those people that will use it to find out how to access accounts the quickest way to, get find someone's IP address online, how to bring down their page and do all that stuff. So even though it comes with benefits, there's a lot of risks here that people just don't want to see, you know? And I don't know. Um, so these are just my thoughts, and they're just my thoughts alone. Just be careful the information that you're putting out there, that personal information that you're putting out there makes you a risk, a target. So share honestly, share an openly, I mean openly, but You certainly, nobody online needs to know the color of underwears you put on today. Nobody needs to know.
So
Be
people seem to think they do.
but use some discretion in what you're sharing. Nobody needs to know how many times a week you're having sex, any of those things, right? Unless you're a sex therapist, right? So, and but even then, it's not necessary. So use discretion in the information you're sharing. Ask questions about people that are selling these apps, what they do, how they help. Just don't go out there and blatantly buy things because you think you're going to be left behind, because you're not. Um, the people that are out there thinking freely are a lot farther than they think, right? So just be you. You show some originality, and it's okay to use these tools for your business, but don't lose sight of yourself in the process and who you are and your authentic voice and why you're doing this, because this is really what sets you apart, not getting stuff out there quicker and all that stuff. That doesn't make you better in business. It you know um just makes you one carbon copy after another, right? And I don't want to say that way. I just feel like people are rushing to get things out. I need to have all my 30 posts done in 15 minutes instead of hours. And what are the quality of those posts that you're going to put out? um will they look auto generated, or will they look like a person with a heart wrote them? Because people people buy in a business by evokes when you evoke an emotion in them, right? A trust or quality, or something like that. So if you can evoke that feeling in them and help them feel secure and stuff, and that you're the right person for them, will AI help you? I don't know. Well, only time will tell. Laura, any closing words?
Well, I think that as much as we have all that going on with it, with AI, because we do have intergenerations, there will be a process, okay, of like seeing that change, as I think about even in the past and before we had America Online, right, AOL, and then just how fast things have evolved. And the difference with AI, of course, is the strength and output, and also the funding and all of the attention that it's gotten, because it's so intuitive, and the way we use it is seems very non-threatening. I think that, we'll have a period of time that the old generation will not necessarily integrate, of course, like anything else. And it'll just kind of die out, but then the new generation will welcome all of these new experiments and all of this knowledge that we have, and the studies that have been done in depth about the human body and how it functions and all of the different things, and how technology has been gathering data points on how we even use our eyes, which is why we have so much information on virtual reality. All of this has been artificial intelligence going on. Gathering data on our behaviors and how we are and who we are, looking to replicate the human being. But the human being, a true human being, is made still of flesh, is still made by the joining of a sperm and an egg, and it is still requires our blood cells, our DNA. It requires all of these things that definitely are not part of the design that artificial intelligence is made out of. And ultimately, human beings have created AI, and we most likely also have the key to contain it.
I like that. We're ending that on a positive note. I like that. So yes, we can control it. I just worry that greed does take precedence in situations like that, because that's what I'm seeing in the market now. A lot of people are out there just saying, "Oh, this is just what I needed for my business. I haven't been making that money, and now I have these tools that are gonna help me write funnels, help me do this, help me do that." And um you know, they're maybe doing things for the wrong reasons out of fear, you know. Sometimes people show up online and they just hit it. They're very good at their message, and they know how to say exactly what they do and how to get their message out there. And other people struggle with that, and it takes them a little longer to grow their business. It doesn't mean
Mhm.
they're behind. It just means that, they haven't found that alignment yet. Um, so I just want people to use it responsibly, use it for the resource it is. And that's it. So thanks for tuning in tonight. As always, we love you here at Soul's Code. To your health.
Thanks, everyone.